Hi, welcome to This Week in Ames. I'm Susan Guiazda. On today's show, we'll check in with the Ames Police Department. My guest today is Police Officer Eric Snyder. Eric, welcome to the show.
Hi there.
You have a lot going on right now. It's a busy time for the Ames Police Department, but we thought we would talk today about pedestrian, bicyclist, and vehicle safety.
Yes, it's a big issue here in town, especially with school about to start again. We're going to have a lot more students with the university in town, and the younger kids traveling back to school. A lot of new travelers, new bikers, new drivers, new walkers. It's very important that we all learn how to share the roads and the paths safely.
So this is a sort of a seasonal calendar kind of topic to talk about. Have you been on the police force for a long time?
Yes, I have been here for almost 10 years now.
And obviously lots of different areas of expertise, and you've picked up a lot of information along the way.
Yeah, and I've been living here since 2001 when I came to school, so I have a lot of experience in this town, both as a resident and as a professional.
So what kind of background do you have to become a police officer?
I was watching Cops one day and thought it looked like fun. True story.
Yeah.
But then I also was trained by the police department in the academy.
And did you go into criminal justice, or?
No, actually I was an exercise science major. A lot of our police officers have various backgrounds, then decided to serve their community by becoming a police officer.
And did you attend school here?
I did. I went to, well, I didn't go to high school here, but I did go to college here.
So when we talk about pedestrian and bicycle safety, you've had the experience on campus as a student and as a police officer, and
yes.
as a driver, probably.
Yes, yes, and it gives me a kind of a unique perspective. The way I used to think as a student, as somebody who was just using the streets and the sidewalks and the paths as not really a conscious user, I was just kind of out there, not really paying attention to other people, to what I do now and seeing some people either get hurt or nearly hurt by some of the mistakes that they make. I think back and wish I would have done things a little differently. Well,
you know, this has been a very challenging season for really any kind of transportation. We have a lot of construction projects going on, a lot of delays due to weather, just a lot happening on the streets. Are you noticing anything as it gets even busier that concerns you?
Nothing specific. Really, what we're trying to get, the message we're trying to get out is that we want people to be defensive travelers. No matter what mode of transportation they choose, we want them to be defensive. Look out for yourself. Pay attention when you're walking for vehicles and bikes that might be coming towards you or past you. When you're biking, look out for walkers and vehicles. When you're driving, look out for everybody, you know. If you're defensive, you're much more likely to see the trouble coming before it happens. And then also respecting others and sharing the roadways and the paths. And we have a lot of shared use paths here in town that are meant for people to get out and recreate, and that is fantastic. But when people get too self-conscious and not aware of their surroundings, they tend not to have that outward respect for others using the paths as well, and that's when accidents can sometimes happen.
You know, you hear a lot about distracted driving, but we actually see distractions affecting all modes of transportation.
Yes, it's very, very tempting to use your smartphone while driving, while riding a bicycle, while walking. There are plenty of instances where people walking down the street have stepped out into traffic while on their phone or with their earbuds in, not hearing traffic coming around them. Same thing with bicyclists. So it's not just driving, it's really distracted traveling.
And the idea of being defensive as a pedestrian may seem kind of funny, but really you play a role. If you're walking, you're on the transportation route, you need to be aware of others around you. Absolutely.
One of the most common things that we hear, and I said it when I was a student myself, is pedestrians have the right-of-way. There are right-of-way rules. A pedestrian does have the right-of-way in the crosswalk, but that won't save your life if you get hit by a car. So you do need to be defensive. No matter what you're doing, you need to be defensive and be aware of your surroundings.
That's funny, I've heard that too. You may be right, but you may be injured. So
correct.
It's really not a good way to win.
No.
The bicyclists, there's a lot of discussion about bicyclists. Do they belong on a path, on the sidewalk, on the street? If bicyclists choose the street, what rules do they play by?
So they follow the same rules as motor vehicle traffic when they're using the street. There's certain parts of town where you can't use a bicycle on the street. Main Street and Grand Avenue are a couple of examples. There's other areas where you can't ride on the sidewalk. Most of those areas are out in campus town because we don't want people traveling down busy, crowded sidewalks on a bicycle, people coming out of shops and things like that. So a lot of times bikes are pushed to the street with vehicular traffic, which it can sometimes be an annoyance to drivers, but we have to understand that everybody shares those roads. The rules are there to keep everybody safe, and they're set up in the safest way possible that we have for our town. So bicyclists need to make sure that they're stopping at stop signs, signaling. Same thing goes for motor vehicle traffic. They need to make sure that they're stopping at the signs, yielding, looking out for others, and signaling. All of those things for everybody interact with each other and make everybody safer.
So for drivers, some of the things I think they need to be aware of are some of the maybe the newer traffic tools that we're using, like sharrows and on-street bike paths. Sometimes you end up with a biker maybe not where you expected in your field of vision.
Yeah, that's one of the big reasons we advocate for defensive driving, because no matter what mode of transportation you use, there's probably going to be some level of blind spot, areas that you can't see, or unexpected things that happen. We can't account for everything, and sometimes people just make mistakes, or they're negligent, they're on their phone and they're texting. So you have to be defensive to make sure that you are looking out for your own safety in case somebody else isn't.
One of the things that we've talked about before is when school starts, how preoccupied particularly young kids get. And it's really not a matter of them being on phones or texting, they're just excited. And maybe they're cutting between cars or jumping out places you're not expecting them, particularly around schools. Do you do more patrols at that time of year?
We do, especially in the school zones. It's very important. We have a lot of new travelers, whether they're biking, walking, driving, they're new to the program, they're new to the system, how this all works together, especially with little kids. They might just be excited about going to school or seeing their friends.
Riding a bus for the first time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they don't think about those things, and sometimes they're still learning all of those rules. So we do a lot of extra patrols, especially speed enforcement in school zones. You'll start to see the speed trailer out in those areas to give people an idea of how fast they're actually traveling. And that's where it becomes even more important to have that respect for others and that outward looking to make sure that you're keeping other people safe just in case.
Well, and it's almost ironic as we finish up a lot of these construction projects, the schools, our elementary schools, are construction zones themselves, a couple of them, so you probably have some unique traffic patterns that maybe parents aren't used to.
Yes, one of the best things that you can do is give yourself a little extra time in the morning so that you're not rushed. We find that when people are rushed, they don't think straight, sometimes they'll speed or ignore some traffic laws and try to cut a little bit of extra time. Combine all of that with all the other things that you have going on, and that's when accidents can happen.
Really a recipe for disaster.
It can be.
Yeah, so it's great that Ames has all these different ways of getting people from point A to point B. Can everybody live together and share the road? Have you seen it happen? Oh,
absolutely. You know, we don't have a high rate of accidents. But there's enough close calls that it worries us. Ultimately, the system works pretty well. We just have to remind people from time to time to do a little bit better job so we can cut down on those close calls and avoid those accidents.
And one of the things I'm really excited about is National Night Out coming up on Tuesday, August 4th. You're going to be doing some kind of pedestrian, bicyclist, driver interactive demo?
Yes. We're encouraging people to ride their bikes to the event. Parking is limited, so we're encouraging people to ride. We'll have.
And it's at Banshell Park?
It's at Banshell Park. We are going to have valet bike parking. If you ride your bike to the event, while our supplies last, we'll give out free bike lights, which just increases your visibility when you're riding, day or night, especially at night. And then we're going to have an interactive demonstration about how all of these modes of transportation work together. We're going to have some people from the biking community. Our bike patrol officers will be there. We may have some people from SciRide there to kind of talk about how all of these modes of transportation work together and give different perspectives and just kind of create that discussion with people to be able to ask questions about what are the rules, how does this work, what if, what do I do if, those kind of things.
And National Night Out is a big event. It's at what time?
It'll be from 5 to 8 p.m. at Banshell Park on Tuesday, August 4th. It's meant to highlight and strengthen the police-community relationship for crime prevention. The other part of it is neighborhood involvement in crime prevention. So bring your neighborhood group, invite anybody that you can to come to the event. We're expecting a lot of people. We're going to give away free bike supplies, bike helmets for kids, free school supplies, bike helmets for kids. We do have some bike supplies, bike lights. We'll also have free food,
just really
a
a lot
bounce
of
house,
fun.
a dunk tank, all kinds of.
Oh,
it'll be a great event.
It's really going to be fun. This is an annual event. You've done it before.
Yes.
It's growing each year, and people might remember it from Brookside Park, but now moved to Bancho, where it's much more visible, and
Correct.
we're looking forward to that event.
Yes.
Well, Eric, thanks for stopping by.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, if you want more information about National Night Out, you can find that at our website at cityofames.org. It'll be right on the calendar of events, and also you can look at our social media for more information. That's at City of Ames on Facebook and Twitter, and also Ames Police on Facebook and Twitter. You can get all your City of Ames and Ames Police news there. Well, that's our show for today. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week for This Week in Ames.